Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's begin with the different steps that you need to do within the SF body to be able to do the focus stacking. Okay, so the step number one that you need to do is to make sure that your lens is in out of focus. This is when you have a phase one camera. Once we complete with all this, I will tell you how to do it in a regular DSLR. So in the phase one camera, you need to make sure your lens is in out of focus. Then you're gonna be setting your distant focus point on the grip of the camera. There is one of the tabs. Once you slide to the right, you're gonna find one tab that is called focus stack. And I will show you this in a second on the camera. But first, I wanna give you an overview of how this works. So you're gonna be setting your distant focus with using one of your front keys on the grip of the camera. Then after that, you're gonna be setting your near focus point, which is the point closest to the lens of the camera. You're gonna be setting this point pressing on the rear key of your grip camera. And all these are examples of focus stacking images from Helicon Focus. And you can see how much detail is in this insect through the whole image. Then your step 3 is gonna dial the total numbers of captures that you desire for your final sequence of images using the rare dial. So this is when you're gonna tell the camera how many images you want to take from point A to point B. So it will be according to the space on your computer and how fast your computer is for you to be able to take as many images. Normally in the computers of the school that are Mac Pro, a little bit faster, you might be able to tell the camera to take up to 50 images in between. But I would recommend you to do a small sequence of images, approximate 10 max. So then you are able to understand how this whole process operates and then being able to process it without getting your computer knocked out. So let's start with small sequence so then you can understand how the process works. And then once we have a powerful computer, or if you have a powerful computer at home, then you're able to experiment with multiple stacks. So understand that as more stack of images you have, more detail you're gonna have in your image. So that's the whole idea of setting up the number of captures. Then as the step number 4, we're gonna be pressing the rare user button, which is the one that you normally are used to out of focus on the camera. So you're gonna be pressing that button to start the sequence of captures. And I will show you in a second on the camera also how you can tell the camera the delay that you're gonna have on your flash. So then you wanna make sure that you tell the camera that the delay every capture is gonna be 5 or 10 seconds. It's always important to have a delay because if you do the sequence of captures way too fast, then you probably will have the chance that one light is not gonna flash because you need to give them time for recycle. So I normally like to do this a little bit slow, especially if you have multiple lights at the same time. So it's better to wait 10 seconds in between that wanted to do super fast with 1 second and then miss one of the shots. So then you have to do your stack of images one more time. And I will show you all this so you can understand. So the step number 5, a final one, will be stack all your photos using Helicon Focus or Photoshop. Helicon Focus is a professional focus stacking solution software. It's software that you either use the trial so you can see how the software works, or you can purchase your own software as well. Um, we I don't recommend you yet to purchase the software until like you try it first, so then you can find out if this is something that you would like to pursue in your career and want to get really good at it. So then in the meantime, if you really want to do these images in high res, you will need to do it in helical focus. On Photoshop, unfortunately, you cannot do a stack of images in RAW or in high quality because Photoshop doesn't have the amount of, um, of power to be able to render these high-end files. So that's why Helical Focus is one of the only softwares in the industry that are dedicated 100% to do this type of work. It's a very, very easy software to use. You literally drag the images, click render, and save the image. So, and I'll be showing you how to do this process. So let me first show you a sequence of images that I have previously done on Capture One, so you all can see what I'm talking about. And I'll be sharing my I'll be sharing my phone so then you can see it on the camera. How is this done? So first, let me stop sharing this, and now I'll be sharing my phone with you. So I can show you on the computer. I can show you on the camera how to do this. There is a message from Jared that says, Polycon does provide a free 30-day trial period. Thank you, Jared. So yeah, that's true. For those that really want to do your focus stack images in high resolution, I highly recommend to try this 30-day trial period on Helicon Focus, because you're gonna find out how much more you can gain doing this in high res than having to lower your resolution because of the lack of Photoshop not being so effective. So first, I'm gonna share my phone. Just give me 1 second to connect this to the computer. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna open my camera. Okay, and then I'm gonna showing you how to do this on the SD card. So I have a here small setup at home. I'm gonna turn on the SD body. Let's wait for the camera to turn on. Second. Perfect. Good. So we have the camera on. So when you are on the grid of the camera, as everyone can see, we're gonna swipe right until we find on the grid the tab that's called Focus Tab. So as I told you in the different steps, the first step that we're gonna do, we're gonna find our distance point on the object that we're gonna photograph. For example, if we're photographing a pair of shoes, we're gonna find the point that is farther on our image. So how are we gonna start focusing? We're gonna use the dial on the camera and see the numbers. If I use the front wheel, it's gonna go very, very tuning one little step at a time. That's why it goes one number at a time. If I use the back, where it's gonna be doing intense See how it goes from 65 just to 75. So it's really big chunks of focus. So that way you start figuring it out until your image gets sharp, until you get your final focus on exactly the point you needed. You're gonna be pressing this rare key. So we're setting it up for this point. And as you can see in the icons of the camera, it shows mountains because mountains are far. And in the closest point, it shows a flower as a macro to show you that this is the closest point. So once we have set up our distant point, we're going to be setting it up for our closest point. So then we're going to start getting close to our object, and tuning, making sure that we get it right in focus, the closest point that is near to us. And once we set this up, then we have our 2 points. And now we're gonna be telling the camera how many images it's gonna be taking in between point A and point B. And how are we gonna do this? We're gonna be moving with this back dial. We're gonna be telling how many images we wanted. Remember, we don't want to be taking more than 10 just to do the first practice, to make sure you understand how this works and that you're able to stack the images later on Photoshop. Another important part of this is the delay on the images, on the flashes, on your lights. How much will be the delay? So we're gonna be pressing up here, and we're gonna come down with the top wheel, and we're gonna capture the delay. Now with the back dial, we're gonna be telling how much. 10 seconds is the max we can do in between each capture. So I recommend 10 seconds if you have a multiple setup of images, of lights. If you have possible like 2 lights, maybe you will be okay with 5. In this case, I'll tell the camera to do a sequence of 10. Then we can close here. And now we're ready to start our sequence of images. So we will start our sequence of images pressing the red button. And now the camera is gonna start photographing all these images in between as we have told the camera to do it. So let me show you how those images had been processed on Capture One. So in here, I previously did a sequence of images of a flower that I have previously light and photographed. I've been doing a few different tests to show you here in class. So then, as we can see, we have here our first image. Make sure that everyone is okay. Jennifer is asking if I'll be sharing the video on YouTube. Yes, Jennifer, I'll be sharing this video on our YouTube channel. So in case you miss any part of how to do the process, you can always go back and check it again. Okay, so first let me show you the first image of this sequence of images that I have created. So I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna give it a second for this to open. And as you can see, in the back of the image start the focus. You can see all the details in the back of the flower. So that's the distant point where I first set the camera to start focusing. And then as I keep going in the other images, the focus starts shifting closer and closer until the last one of this sequence that's gonna be all the way in the front of the image, as you can see. So we have now a sequence of images. In this case, I did 20 because my computer allowed me to do more images. Hopefully you are able to practice to see how much you can get on your computer. I definitely recommend you to start with a small sequence of captures so then you can figure it out how much space your computer allows you to work with. So the other great thing that Capture One does is that immediately you create a sequence of images, Capture One is gonna give this sequence of images a sequence number that you can have directly in your session outputs. So you will have this folder with the perfect sequence of numbers ready to be able to stack in Helicon Focus or in Photoshop. So first, we're gonna do this the professional way of Helicon Focus so you can understand the process. So what I did is that I have all these images ready and I have them in a folder ready to drag into Helicon Focus. So I have them in my selects. If I open my folder, I have them on my selects, in my output, and I have them on a folder that is called stack ready for Helicon Focus. As you can see, I have all of my images ready, all of my 20 images, and if you check in the numeration, they start from number 699 all the way to 718. You always have to make sure that there is no images missing and that your sequence goes from the small number all the way to the bigger number. Okay, once you have your images ready, you're gonna select them all. We're gonna open Helicon Focus and you're gonna drag them into the software. I had previously did the stack of images because it takes a little bit of time, especially when you're working with high-end images. So you are just gonna drag them into Helicon Focus and you're gonna click render. Is that simple as drag the images, drop them in the Helicon Focus, click render, and then once you have them all here, you just need to highlight them all.
Edwin,
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's just me, but I only see Capture One. Are you in Helicon software right now?
Oh, thank you, Jared.
Mhm.
Wait a second. Yeah, sometimes when I share the screen, it shares only one of my windows. So let me share now my desktop so you can see all of the movement that I do inside of it. Okay, so let's rewind. Once I have the sequence of images ready in my folder, I'm gonna open them into the export folder that I have them ready. In this case, I have them here, stacked for Helicon. As you can see, I have all of the different numbers starting from 699 all the way to 718. So we're gonna drag these images into Helicon Focus. Helicon Focus is a very easy software interface where it has 4 tabs at the top: rendering, retouching, text, and saving. We're gonna be using rendering to render the images and saving at the time to export them. You can either open the stack from the file menu, you can do file, open stack, and add them, or you can just simply drag them into the Helicon Focus. There is another way to do it. The photos need to be in correct order of some kind. The sequence of images will already come with the order once you photograph them, Joy. So you don't need to worry about that. You just need to make sure that when you are photographing them, they all have the sequence of numbers.
Okay.
You don't want them to be like 699 and then jump to 702, because then you're gonna miss these two images in between. So you want to make sure. But in Capture One, with Phase One SF body, it automatically is gonna give this sequence of numbers to the images, so you don't
Okay.
have to worry about that. And then I will show you also how to do it with your regular camera. So it's all gonna be a very similar process. So in this case, I have previously dragged the images in Telecom Focus, and then we are gonna see the images on the left side, the source images here. So then what you need to do is just click on the first one and then press Shift on your keyboard, come to the last one and make sure they're all highlighted. When you have them all highlighted, you're just gonna press render. And this is gonna take quite a few time, especially when you're working with IIQ files or raw files. That's why I previously did this, because it took like some 20 minutes and I have to delete a few programs on my computer to be able to render this image because of the amount of power that the software requires to be able to work. So I already rendered the image, and now I'm gonna go into the tab that's called saving. Just give it a time because I haven't saved this yet. So, okay, so now we have here the final render, but I wanted to see it in full quality. So then I'm gonna click save. And I'm gonna tell the computer where I want this to be saved. So I want it to be saved in output, and I'm gonna give it a name. I'm gonna call this flower focus stack. And I'm gonna tell the file that I wanted to be saved. I'm gonna be save this flower as a DNG, which is the raw converter that Helicon software is allowing me to do. So I'll be saving this photo into the output folder so I can have them organized in my session. And this is gonna take a little bit of time. So in the meantime, while the software tries to save this image, um, I have previously export one to show you, but let's give a second so we can wait for this to get export. Let's see if it allows me to open. Yeah, we're gonna have to give it a second for this. Well, I'm gonna actually cancel this so then I can show you the previous one that I had previously saved. So you don't have to wait so long. Okay, so I have here the previous stack that I have done on this. I also shift the side of the image, the orientation, because I figured that it works better for the flower. So now if I zoom in, you can see how the image it's focused all the way from the back to the front of the flower. And then we can see detail across every single part of this flower, which is pretty amazing how you can do this. You can see all the amount of detail now we got through the whole flower, all the way from the back and all the way to the front of the image. You can see how much more clarity is through the whole image. And this is a simple flower. Now imagine all that you can do at home with different objects. Your creativity is your limit, so you can choose many objects to be able to render. And it's very interesting and also very exciting to wait for the final image to get processed. But I know a lot of you don't have Helicon focus, and if you don't have the space on your computer to run this program, there is a second alternative way on how to do this on Photoshop, and I want to show you how to do that. So on the LMS, I have uploaded a sheet for all of you to download. So you're gonna go into the downloads, and I would love everyone to try to download this now, so then you can see it what I'm talking, and you can follow me at the same time that I am explaining you this. So go into the downloads tab on your LMS, and there is one PDF file that I have uploaded for you. It's called Photoshop Formula for Focus Stacking Photoshop. So download that file that is on the downloads, and open it up so you can see it. Let me double check if any of you have issues downloading that file. Let me know, otherwise I can re-upload it again. But please make sure that it's working. I'm gonna open it from my hard drive.
I got it.
You got it? It's working? Okay, good. So it was just my computer. Okay, so let me open it from here. So as you can see, I have created a formula step by step on how to do this on Photoshop. On Photoshop, unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to do it in RAW, in full resolution. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna convert that sequence of files in small resolution, by example in JPEG, 300 dpi, maybe long edge 4000, not as big as 8000 or 6000 according to which camera we have. So here is all the steps one by one on how to do this on Photoshop. So I'm gonna be doing the same process on Photoshop, so then you all can follow me on how to do this, okay? So first, let's open Photoshop. I previously did one here to accelerate the process, but I will be doing it from scratch, so you can follow me. So as you can read in the file that I just shared with you, it says the first will be to output your photos on a folder, as I already did here on my, let's open my capture and show you the folder where I already previously output them for Photoshop. So what I did is the stack of images that I have in Capture One, I Command A, select them all, and then either you go to your process recipe and then you select one of the recipes, or you create one. In this case, I use JPEG long edge 4K because it's giving me a file of 4000 pixels, which is not as large as the original file, but it's not either so small that I'm not gonna be able to see the resolution and the quality that I'm working on. I have decided to use this one because I'm working with 20 images, and Capture One, Photoshop might take too long, or what happened in many cases, when you export them in full resolution, Photoshop crash and don't finish the stack. So then what I did is that I export them in JPEG, long edge 4K, so then you can tell them to export them to the output folder. And once they're in the output folder, you can create a separate folder So then you have them organized. By example, I did one stack for Helicon software in IIQ, and I did another folder for JPEG to stack them in Photoshop. As you can see, it's still a pretty good size. It's still really good quality, but it's not my full raw file. There is one question here. Nyla's asking, is everything the same process with a regular full frame DSLR? It's a very similar process, and once I complete showing you how to stack these images in Photoshop, I will be explaining you how to do this on a regular DSLR. So then you understand how to work with your own camera. Okay, so let me first stack these in Photoshop. So as you can see, I have them ready. You definitely need to first have them ready, export them, and making sure that your sequence of numbers follow the right numeration. See, 699, 700, 701, 702, all the way to 780. Always make sure that your sequence follows that numeration and that there is not a gap in between. And also make sure that there is not like a black image that didn't work or any of that. Okay, so once we have our folder ready, we're gonna go into Photoshop and we're gonna follow step by step. You literally just need to read to have that formula next to you, and this can be done by anyone, even a person that has never used Photoshop, because literally it tells you step by step. Okay, it says go to File, Scripts, and after Scripts, it tells you Load File in Stack, and I'm gonna be reading step by step, so then you know exactly how to follow this later once you are at home. And then you're gonna be clicking in Load File Stack, then we're gonna do Browse, and we're gonna find that stack of images. See how I have the folder here? It's stack for Photoshop. We're gonna open this, Command A, select them all, open, and then we're gonna make sure to check attempt to automatically align source images. Then we don't need to check create a smart object after landing images. Just attempt to automatically align source images. Make sure that you just click the first and check this. Once you have checked that, we're gonna click OK. And now, let me move my Photoshop window a little bit to the left side so you all can see. What Photoshop is gonna do, he's gonna enter all of those images into different layers. And this is gonna take a while Photoshop align all the select layers. And this is why I recommend not to export the images in too large file, but also don't go super low, because then you're not gonna be able to see a good result at the end. So try to balance according to what your computer is able to work with. Normally, if you have an iMac or a Mac Pro, 20 images max, I recommend 10, 4,000 pixels, the large long edge, 300 dpi is okay. So as you can see, now Photoshop, what it did is that it put all of those 20 images in layers on my computer. As you can see all of them here. So now if you follow the formula, now it's telling you to go on your layers right here. Let me move my Photoshop a little bit up so everyone can see. It says, let me close these windows in the back so you don't get distracted. Okay, it's telling me, let me actually move my window a little bit up so you can see better. Okay, so now it's telling me go to your layers, click on the first layer, and then pressing the keyboard on your computer, Shift, you're gonna go all the way down and you're gonna select them all. Once you have selected all, you're gonna go into edit on the menu of your Photoshop. You're gonna go onto auto blend layers and you click there, and then as you can see I put a screenshot of this same window on your formula so you remember how this window needs to look before you click OK. It needs to be checked where it says stack images, seamless tones and colors, content aware, fill transparent areas. Once you are ready and this looks exactly like this, you're gonna click OK. And now Photoshop is gonna do the work of blending all of these images into one final file. So obviously this is what it takes a while because Photoshop is gonna be thinking on how to do all this. So I previously merged them all into one file that I'll be showing you in a second. Right now, since Photoshop is working with this, it's gonna be taking a while. So while Photoshop continue blending these images, I'm gonna explain you how to take this on a DSLR camera. So I know there is no, all of you right now have phase one with you. So then what are we gonna do in either your Nikon, Sony, or Canon camera or any other camera that you have at home? What you will need to do is first you need your camera, your lens need to be on manual mode, super important. And then you will need a tripod. Without a tripod, unfortunately, there is no way you can do this because you need to make sure your camera won't move. Your camera needs to be super stable. And then the object that you're gonna be focus stacking needs to have zero movement as well. So you cannot focus stack a person, a flower on the wild. You have to photograph an object that has zero movement. So when I have this flower, I have this flower completely taped on an arm. So then the flower will have zero movement and I have all of my windows closed, the air condition off, because the minimum move will damage the whole sequence of stack. It is super important that you remember that everything needs to be so stable. And if you live in the second floor, for example, in a Victorian home, the wooden floors, when people walk around, create create a movement on your home. So you need to make sure that you do this when there is your home is in remain calm. No one is walking around. So then there is no movement. If you are working on the SF body, there is a really cool feature. Let me quickly share my phone and show you. Show you. And I keep showing you everything on the phase one because all of this is gonna be gone and soon you're gonna be able to use this camera. So I want to make sure that you know exactly how it works. So if you have an SF body at home, remember that load this and show you. Okay, so on the grid, if you right swipe, you're gonna find the seismograph. And as you can see, the minimum touch that I do on the camera, look at how little I'm touching the camera. And like, look now, if I just step near the camera, there is a little bit of shake. If I were touch the tripod a little bit, did you see how the camera is showing you that there is movement around? So then what do? I wait until all of this is completely flat. So this is the indicative that I'm ready to start doing my stack of images. So make sure that if you are using a phase one camera, you take advantage of the seismograph, because this will allow you to know that there is no movement anywhere around where your object will be in problem at the time of taking images. So that's gonna be very helpful. I know not all of us have the SF body at home, but don't worry. We are gonna apply the same concept into our regular DSLR cameras, because it's completely doable. We can totally work on it and being able to do it at home with our DSLR. So what you need to do is put your camera on the tripod with your lens in manual focus, and then what you're gonna do is that you're gonna focus the farthest point. Let me show you on my phone, by example. If I'm focusing on the front of my phone, we're gonna make the mark, and you make sure that that farthest point is completely sharp. You can take an image and confirm that you are sharp. Once you have taken that image and it's perfectly how you want it to be sharp, then you are gonna be moving slowly your ring on your lens. So then you're gonna move it a little tiny bit to move from point A to point B to point C to point D to point E, F, G, all the way until you reach until the other side of your object. But obviously you need to make sure that every time you move the ring on your lens, it's very fine movements where you are not moving your tripod, you are not moving your composition. So then every capture that you create in between, they are all perfectly sequenced. And then you do one capture at the time. If you want to repeat one of those captures, then you're gonna lose the sequence of captures that you're creating in between. So if you are deciding to do 10 images, by example, I have this horse here as an example. If I start focusing on the mouth of the horse, that will be my image number one. Then I'm gonna move image number two, image number three, image number 4, 5, 6, 8, all the way until I hit the tail and number 10. But I need to make sure that I only create a sequence of 10 images that follows those numbers. Because if I create, by example, multiple numbers that are not matching, then at the time of sending it to Photoshop, it's not gonna be able to merge. One other big problem that can happen is if you shake your camera, by example, you were going perfect, and in number 5, you hit the tripod, and then for 1 millimeter, the camera shifts to the left or to the right. Then at the time of stack this and capture in Photoshop or in Helicon Focus, it's not gonna be a mismatch. So then the software is gonna be like, I don't know how to match this, or it's just gonna be a slightly error on your final image. So make sure to do this super professional. And I know it's a big challenge, because if you have the SF body, it does it automatically and it's so easy and perfect. But this is a big challenge to do it with your regular cameras, because before the SF body has been created, it was the only way to do it. I don't know if you have seen on the digital labs some of those big insects from Michael Scenes that are posted in the walls. Those are a stack of images that Michael Scenes did in a project where he photographed these insects that were really tiny, and he took like 100 images in between to create these insects super sharp, and he did all on his Nikon camera, obviously using Helicon focus, but if you start slowly with 10 stack of images, later on you're gonna figure it out. Okay, it looks like my computer is able to handle it. I wanna go and jump for a 20 capture sequence, and then you can do a larger one. So you're gonna see more detail and more detail in your photograph. So start with the first sequence just for you to test how you can do this, and then later on start getting more ambitious and do more. I mean, later on when we have the fastest computers at the school, you will be able to do a stack of images, even if you want, of 150 photographs for a small object. And then it's unbelievable, like the amount of quality you can gain into one image. And you're gonna see, if you open any website right now, Nike or cosmetics, you're gonna find out that you will see how this is used in the commercial world, because you're gonna see that those tennis shoes or those products, those beauty products, are super sharp all the way. And sometimes it could be a render of on 3D on the computer, but most of the times are images that are being done with focus stacking. So this is the way that us as a photographer can solve this problem when we are in the studio and we're like, oh, but I wish I could have it all in focus. Or you have the perfect control to say like, well, maybe I don't want to have the full horse in focus. I just want to have this whole part in focus, you know? But normally when I take a picture, I probably will be able to have just this little part in focus rather than being able to have the whole head or the full body. So it's it is definitely like something that you are gonna find very, very interesting to work, especially with your DSLR cameras. But please follow all of my advices in terms of like having the camera in the tripod, making sure that every time you move the, the ring on your lens to keep moving, shifting your focus, you do that very carefully. And you can even put marks on the lens so you know how much you're gonna move each time. You know, all of our lenses have a numeration. It's either goes in feet or in meters. So then you can say like, okay, let me study my lens and let's see how many sequence I'm gonna do in between. And so you can determine, okay, I'm gonna move the lens every 2 numbers or every 1 number. So then you can do the marks. And that way you know exactly how you're gonna be moving. And you can practice also on your lens. You can take the farthest image, see what number is on the numeration of your lens, and then do the closest one, and then see all the way where it goes. So then now you will know that in between those 2 marks is where you're gonna have to take all of your sequence of images. So it's important that you practice a little bit beforehand, so then you can achieve a successful image without complication. And I'm gonna quick share my final result from the previous one that I create with Photoshop. So as you can see, the render has been complete, and I have here the final sequence in Photoshop, and you can see how Photoshop has created layers on top of all of these files that I have created. See, all those layers are the different masks that Photoshop has created, and then at the end I had the final merge photograph with all the resolutions. So this one, we are gonna be saving it as JPEG full resolution, and this is what you are gonna be submitting to me as homework for next class. So once you save this image in JPEG, you can post this to the LMS. Since probably it's gonna be less than 50 megabytes, we'll see how big the file is. I am requesting a JPEG because I know it can be really big. And that's why I have decided that a JPEG it's a good way for us to try, since we are at home with internet connectivities. So as you can see, I have here, it's not the largest size as the one that we previously did, but it gives me a clear sharpness through the whole image for me to understand how this focus stacking process works. If you are able to do 5 sequence or less, then probably you will be able to work in a large scale file. But test your computer and see how far you can go. And Photoshop does a pretty good job as long as your images are very stable and there was no movement in between. Photoshop does a pretty good job in that sense. So this is how you do it in Photoshop. The other way, it was how you do it in Helicon Focus, and also the 2 different ways on how to do it in the SF body and in your regular DSLRs. I'm gonna share one video that I have uploaded into the LMS for those that have the SF body, so you can recap everything that I have just previously talked on how to do this. So let me go to that video that is gonna help you recap everything that we just spoke. So let me get into here. Okay, there you go. For some reason it's not open. So let me share it directly from my computer. Share the screen one more time. I've been stacking so many images this week that my computer is a little bit exhausted from so many files. So let me go back and share that video directly. I have also uploaded that video into the downloads, so you can find it there. And whenever you're working with these programs, make sure to clean programs that you're not using. By example, I have After Effects. I have a few other programs that are not, that I wasn't currently using. So what I did is that I delete them to be able to run Helicon Focus, because it definitely takes all the memory from your computer. Okay, so I have here the video. There you go. Okay. So pay attention to this video because it's gonna recap everything that I just explained, but you will visually be able to see it a little bit closer and easier. Okay, let's see.
Single image with sharpness throughout the desired focus range.
Okay.
Single image with sharpness throughout the desired focus range, providing ultimate detail. To access the Focus Stack tool, go to Tools within the XF menu or swipe the XF top screen. The Focus Stack tool consists of 3 parameters: the distant focus point, the near focus point, and the total number of captures between those points. Finding these points is done most easily by using Live View, either on the XF camera system or through Capture One Pro. To fine-tune your focus, you can use the front and side dials of the XF camera or the focus control within Live View of Capture One Pro. First, ensure that your lens is in autofocus mode. Find the distant focus point of your subject by scrolling the side dial and fine-tuning with the front dial. Save the point using the front key. Use the same method to find the near focus point of your subject and save the point with the rear key. Now you simply dial in the total number of captures you desire for your final sequence of images using the rear dial, and then press the rear user button to start the sequence of captures. The XF camera system starts capturing the sequence of images with the lens traveling from the distant focus point to the near focus point. The result is a series of images with a sequence ID tag for easy management, editing, and processing in Capture One Pro 9. The final images can then be rendered in Helicon Focus or another application to create a single image with stunning detail.
So as you saw,
Single image with sharpness throughout the design.
one more detail that they show there, it's the use of live view to be able to focus easier and with more access to your computer. So then when you open the live view on your Capture One, you're gonna be able to do the same focus that I was showing you on the body, but now you are able to see it on the computer, so you have more clarity of where you are. Remember that when you are using live view on the SF bodies, on the phase ones, you need to add some hot light or some available light on your room, so then your live view is able to capture the light and then you can see better. If you don't have that much light, what I recommend you is to bump your ISO all the way up just for you to be able to see and focus, and then get it back to your regular ISO, and then you close cap a live view and that's when you start your sequence of images. But definitely live view, it will help you to be able to focus and see better what you're getting. If you don't have live view with your regular DSLR cameras, then what you can do is take the first image and make sure you have it sharp, and then the closest one, and then little by little you start getting all the sequence of images. Did anyone has any questions regarding this? How are you gonna process this at home with your own DSLRs? Is there any questions from this whole process, from the formula in Capture One, or any other questions that you might have? I think most of the cameras that are out right now are SF bodies, so then all of those cameras will be able to work. When you work with macro lenses, obviously your depth of field is very narrow, so then the chances of you getting the image sharp, you're gonna need more sequence in between. If you work with a wider lens, then you have more chances to, with small sequence, to have everything sharp, because then your depth of field is wider in each photograph you're taking. And then obviously remember that when you are doing this, use the sweet spot on your lens. For example, if you're using the Schneider lenses, use them in f11, because then each photograph is going to have the widest depth of field, so you guarantee more space that is in focus. So then when you hit the other image, all that is going to merge very well together. So remember to do this at f11 on your regular DSLRs as well. Some of the DSLR vary where the sweet spot is. Some of them are at f8, but I mostly recommend f11 to give you more clarity on your image. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop recording this demo if there is